Mares are harder to work with. Fillies, the worst. I'll take a stallion any day over a filly at a clinic when I don't know what I'm going to get into with even really sore horses. The stallion gives you a 100% honest response. The filly is playing a game and doesn't want anything to do with it. And mules give you the most personal, they have the most personality, give you the unbelievable responses when you get a sore mule. Doing this palpating, checking, doing deep pressure massage. Well, we're pretty sore down here. Pretty tight down there. Not too tight in the belly of the muscle though.
That's good.
So it's something that's not what you call severe. It's just tight from a little overwork, but not a whole lot. Pretty level back on this horse. So it has an advantage to the fact that your saddle not diving downhill into this wither and overworking the levator humeri to extend the front leg. No problem here. These are the rhomboids. When you have a really sore horse, you're going to get a response from the rhomboids. They lift the scapula up and forward, and they attach underneath the scapula, right in here. Whereas the trapezius works just the opposite, and on top of the scapula. There's a cartilage of prolongation on the scapula that has the muscle attaching to it, and just in front of it actually, and it glides in between layers of muscle as the shoulder rotates. So there's this much cartilage of prolongation on that scapula. That's why sometimes you can be fooled by the lump or bump that you see, which I talked about the position of the scapula being an inch, inch and a half back of the elbow. Sometimes you'll see another lump here of muscle. It's not the scapula usually, if you get down in deep and check. Check withers here, say, yep, we got a little of that. Hard to get away from with typical saddles. And saddles, period, always create a certain amount of discomfort in the horse. They always have. Napoleon didn't make it to Russia. The British lost 90 out of 150,000 horses that they shipped by steamboat to South Africa in the Boer Wars. And they lost the Boer Wars because the cavalry never got to the battle. They did an investigation by Parliament and decided it was bad saddles, saddle sores, the tropics, open wounds, putting the horses out of commission quick. So they redesigned their trooper saddle and as best they could. But just like the American cavalry, U.S. cavalry, never could catch an Indian. They couldn't even catch an old band of Nez Perce, old people on their Appaloosas. Outran the U.S. military. And it's an interesting thing because the Indians didn't ride just bareback. The Indians did have saddles per se. And they had stirrups attached to the leather down here. They traded for stirrups back in the 1600s. So they'd rest their foot in a stirrup at a walk. They had a channel in the leather where they could stuff it so they'd stay off the spine. And at speed, they leaned forward, they stayed on their thighs from the knee up and rode at speed and picked up the stirrup with their moccasin toes and held it back. So they didn't run pressure across the middle of the back from the stirrups. They had a more efficient bareback pad a la treeless saddle than anything made today, but they were physically capable of riding it as well. That's why the U.S. cavalry could never catch them. Okay, we know what we have here. We'll have a little soreness in these shoulders too. We know that. Wintertime, we haven't had enough fresh riding to get the friction soaring here. Okay. She's not overworking the hindquarters, you notice? The semi-membranosus is not sore because we don't have this downhill situation. We get under ourselves very easily in the rear. We pick up the front. So she's doing better because of her natural conformation. And one nice straight back. The only thing's probably getting in the way is those little stirrup bumps. Right there. Okay. Thank you very much. A good example of a completely different horse.